Hi guys, I hope all of you are doing well. So I welcome you all to yet another video in this AWS Data Engineering Certification course. And in this particular video, we are going to see that how will we be able to launch our EC2 instance, RDS instance with the MariaDB database engine and a VPC without going to the management console and without going to and fro to all the services that uh, we need to initialize. In this particular case, we will be using a service called as CloudFormation. So CloudFormation, if I talk about, is a service that we usually called as infrastructure as a service code. Means we will be giving the service, that is the CloudFormation service, a piece of code that will be something similar to a YAML file, or an it will be similar to a YAML file, I can say, right? And using that particular YAML file, what all configurations we have defined in that particular YAML file, it will automatically initialize the services according to that particular template. So in the previous videos, we have already seen how we can create and connect our MariaDB instance to an EC2 instance, and using that particular EC2 instance, we will be connecting and we will be communicating with my MariaDB instance. So if you are not aware about how we can connect an EC2 instance, how we can create an EC2 instance, how we can create a MariaDB instance, and how we will be attaching those two services together. So I would highly recommend you to first of all watch that particular video, and then you should continue watching this video. So with that said, let's get started with this video and let's get straight into the system. So as I told you already that in the previous video we did this thing, right? That we first of all initialized an EC2 instance, because we will not be directly able to connect to the MariaDB instance if I want to connect to the instance using maybe some kind of SSH, or using some kind of terminal kind of stuff, right? Or maybe even using the MariaDB API, I will not be able to directly connect to the instance because it will be inside a private subnet. Whereas my EC2 instance is inside a public subnet, so I will be able to do what? I will be able to connect to my EC2 instance via a SSH connection, and through my EC2 instance, I will be able to bypass the firewall and I will be able to connect to my MariaDB instance. Okay. So we did in the previous video, we did each and everything manually. Means we first of all went to the EC2 dashboard. There we created an EC2 instance. Then we went to the RDS dashboard. We created an RDS database, and then we launched our services and connected them together. So this is what we do. We did each and everything in steps and individual, I would say in isolation or individual steps. In this video, what we will try to do is we will use a service called as CloudFormation. So let me scroll to that particular section. So we created MariaDB right here, right? That if I want to create a VPC, an EC2 instance, and MariaDB instance using CloudFormation, how we will be able to do it. So instead of using the console to create VPC, EC2 instance, and MariaDB instance, you can use CloudFormation to provision AWS resources by treating infrastructure as a code. Okay. So provisioning AWS resources means initializing it. It's just another term for initialization, means running the service or creating that particular service. To help you organize your AWS resources into smaller and more manageable units, you can use the CloudFormation nested stack functionality. For more information, you can go on to this particular link and this link, right? So how to create a stack in CloudFormation console and working with the nested stack. Here, CloudFormation is free, but the resource that CloudFormation creates are live. You incur the standard users fees for these resources until you terminate them. For more information, you can go on to this particular link. Means if we want to use CloudFormation as a service, so using CloudFormation as a service is free for us, but whatever services we will provision or we will initiate from the CloudFormation from the CloudFormation code, that those services will be chargeable, right? If we are initializing an EC2 instance, or if we are initializing a MariaDB instance, in that particular case, these instances will be chargeable. And what charges will it incur? You can go on to this particular link and you can understand more about what kind of instance state you will be choosing and what will be the charge that you will be incurring. So download the CloudFormation template, configure your resources using the CloudFormation. So here we will we are already having a CloudFormation template that is already given to us by the AWS people. If we will not be having this particular template, so we will have to manually write this particular template, right? So if let's suppose I want to add another service, so I will have to add that particular thing into the YAML file. So a CloudFormation template is a JSON or YAML text file that contains the configuration information about the resources you want to create in the stack. This template also creates a VPC and a Bastion host for you along with the RDS instance. To download the template file, open the following link. Okay, so let's open this particular link, and here you will be able to see the template, right? If I zoom in a bit, so here you will be able to see, first of all, the description is written AWS VPC, right, plus Linux Bastion host, okay, RDS MariaDB. Do not remove the Apache license version 2.0 to zoom something like this. Okay, then there is metadata. So this is the license that it is having, Apache license version 2.0, right? And then it will ignore the checks, configuration checks. From here you will be able to see the parameter groups that will be there. Okay, so here if I see, so AWS CloudFormation interface, okay, so parameter groups. So parameter groups, if I talk about, so here in the label we will be giving the default value as network configuration. Here parameters that will be available will be availability zones, VPC, CIDR, right, private subnet 1, subnet 2, subnet 3, right, and then we will be having 3 public subnets. Okay, then we have our Linux Bastion host configuration. Here parameters will be enable Bastion, key pair name, remote access CIDR, and enable TCP forwarding. Then we will have database general configuration. So here we have to choose the DB engine version, the instance class, then we have to choose the DB port, DB name, DB master username, manage master user password, DB multi availability zone, right, minor update, and retention period, and enable IAMDB auth. So if you will look closely, so all these parameters are similar to the parameters that we were able to see on the console, right? These parameters are similar to the parameters that we were able to see when we were trying to launch the instance, right? Key pairs and all these things. Whereas when we tried to create a database here, the MariaDB database, we were able to see each and every parameter here also, right? All the parameters were here in the console also, and the same parameter values we will be passing when we will be initializing this particular code. Okay, and now if I talk about, so database general configuration is done. Then database storage configuration we will have to do, that is database storage type, DB allocated storage, then DB allocated storage is whether it's encrypted or not, storage IOPS, storage throughput, storage auto scaling, and max storage threshold. Then talking about the database monitoring configurations, we will have to set the configuration for DB export log to CloudWatch, enable performance insights retention period, enable enhanced monitoring, okay, monitoring interval, and enable event subscription and notification list. Talking about the database tags, so this is optional, right? So environment stage, application version, a project cost center, confidentiality, and compliance. Quick start configuration, so we should have the QS quick start S3 bucket name, quick start bucket reason, and quick start key prefix. Talking about the parameter labels, right? So we will have to now provide the labels. So VPC stack, for VPC availability zone will be default availability zones, right? Private subnet 1 CIDR will be private one, default value will be these, right? That it has given here. Then Bastion host related parameter labels will be enable Bastion. So default will be create a Bastion stack. For enabling the TCP forwarding, so we are enabling the TCP forwarding. Key pair name will be the key name, and the remote access CIDR will be permitted IP range. Talking about the quick start related parameter labels, so default quick start S3 bucket name will be quick start S3 bucket name, quick start bucket region will be bucket region, and key prefix will be S3 key prefix. Then RDS related parameter labels. So application will be application name, application version will be this, compliance will be compliance classifier, confidentiality will be confidentiality classifier, database allocated storage will be database allocated storage size in gigabytes or in GBs. Then database allocated storage encrypted. So is it enabled or not, right? Database minor version upgrade, is it enabled or not? Database backup retention period, it is enabled or not, or for how much time basically this retention period will be there. Then the database engine version, export database log to CloudWatch, database instance class, database master username, right? Master password, RDS multi availability zone instance deployment, database name, database password, database storage type, enable enhanced monitoring, enable event subscription, enable IAM database authentication, RDS, enable RDS performance insights, environment stage, right? Manage database user password using AWS manager, and so on. There will be multiple other things, right? Limit to storage and auto scaling in gigabytes, enhanced monitoring interval, SNS notification email, number of days to retain performance insight data, project cost center, provisioned IOPS for GP3 and IO storage, one type, provision throughput for GP3 storage type in megabytes, and enable storage auto scaling. Then talking about the parameters. So here you will be seeing all the VPC stack related parameters, right? So talking about the availability zones. So the list of availability zones to use for the subnets in VPC. Only 3 availability zones are used for this particular deployment, and the logical order of your selection is preserved. So you can see here, it will list the AWS S3 availability zones and their name, right? Private subnet CIDR, so allowed patterns are this. So this is something we call as a regex, okay, which is called as regular expressions. So we have used regex here to define the allowed patterns. Then constraint description, default value, description, and the type. Similarly, subnet 2, subnet 3, private subnet 2, private subnet 3. Then public subnet 1, public subnet 2, and public subnet 3. And VPC CIDR is also given here. Then talking about the Bastion host related parameters. So enable Bastion, so allowed values are true and false. Default value is true. So if true, the Bastion stack will be created, and the type will be string. Enable TCP forwarding, so type will be string. Description is enable or disable the TCP forwarding for the Bastion host, and default value will be false, and allowed values will be true or false. Key pair name, so name of the existing key pair. Description is the name of the existing key pair. Public and private key pair for connecting to the Bastion host, and the type will be something like this. Similarly, quick start related parameters. So quick start bucket name, bucket region, and key prefix. And again, RDS related parameters will be there. So DB allocated storage, default is 100 GB, right? Minimum value is 20 GB, and the maximum value is 65,536 GB. DB allocated store encrypted. So default value is true, allowed value is true or false. Similarly, minor version upgrade, allowed value is true and false, default value is true, right? And retention period is 35 days. minimum is 0 and maximum is 35 days. DB engine version, so default version is this, allowed versions are this much, these things, right? From 10.3.35 to 10.6.14. Then export log to CloudWatch. So default value is an empty string, right? We can specify the comma delimited list of database logs, that is error, slow query, audit, and general, to export to the CloudWatch logs. Database instance that we will be initializing will be DB R5 large. Okay. What all allowed values are these values. Okay. So these are the number of DB instances that we can basically initialize for our use case. Here we will initialize DB_R5 large. Okay. Then database master username. So allowed pattern will be this, that we can have capital, small letters, capital letters, and we can have a numerics that is from 0 to 9. So must begin with a letter and contain only alphanumeric characters. Maximum length is 16, minimum length is 1. Then master user password. So allowed pattern is this. Total, so minimum there should be 8 characters. Must include 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase, 1 number, and 1 non-symbol thing. So maximum length is 41, minimum length is 8. So multi-availability zone deployment, allowed values is true or false, default value is false. So select true to deploy the RDS multi-availability zone DB instance. DB name, again, the name of the initial MariaDB to create, maximum length is 64, minimum length is 0. Default is sample app, default port is 3306. Okay, and the range must be between 1150 to 65,535. So these are the range in which we can give our DB port number. Now default value is IO1 and the allowed values is GP2, GP3 and IO1. Now enable enhanced monitoring. So allowed values is true or false and the default value is true. Enable event subscription, allowed values is true or false, default value is true. Enable IAM based authentication, default value is true, allowed is true or false. Enable performance inside, allowed values is true or false, default value is true, so it enables RDS performance insights. Master manage master user password, it's true, and set to true to manage the master user password with the AWS secret manager. So maximum storage threshold, default is 150. So the maximum threshold is the limit that you set to the auto scaling DB instance, must be at least more than 10% than the current allocated storage. Monitoring interval, default is 10, means the interval in 10 seconds points to the enhanced monitoring matrices are collected to the database. Default values are this, that from 1 second to 60 seconds. Notification list, right? Performance insights retention period is there. Default is 7, maximum minimum is 7 and maximum is 713. Storage auto scaling, default is true and allowed values is true or false. So with storage auto scaling enabled, when Amazon RDS detects that you are running out of free database space, it automatically scales up to your storage. Storage IOPS, default is 0. So if you choose GP3 and allocate greater than or equals to 400 GB or IO1, you must specify provisioned IOPS, right? Leave at default value, otherwise for IOPS 1, the ratio of provisioned IOPS is IOPS to allocated storage in GB must be from 0.5 to 50, and in the range of provisioned IOPS is 1000 to 2,56,000. For GP3, the maximum ratio provisioned of IOPS to allocate storage in GB is 500 and the range is provisioned is 12,000 to 64,000. Then storage throughput, default is 0, right? Provision throughput in megabytes. If you choose GP3 and allocate greater than 400 GB as the storage type, you must specify the provision throughput. Leave at default values otherwise. Then we have optional parameters like application version, compliance, right? Confidentiality, environment stage, and project center cost. And these are some conditions, some rules, and the resources that we will be using for our initialization. So this is the main code that we will be basically using, or I would say that our CloudFormation will be using to initialize the resources. Okay. So this was all about the template. Now configure your resources using CloudFormation, right? One more thing that I would like to mention here is, right, earlier most of you must have thought about then if we can automate the things, right, using some kind of scripts or something, why we not go for the automation every time? So this is the reason, right? You can just see that if we want to only launch three services, that is VPC, right, one RDS, and um, an EC2 instance, right? This is the amount of things and the configurations that we have to manage, right? These are the configuration and the things that we have to manage just to launch three services, right? Now let's suppose if my infrastructure is using 20 services or maybe 40 services. In that particular case, you can think of the complexity of this particular script also, right? So for that reason, if we are creating some I would say minor kind of infrastructure, some small infrastructure that can be managed using or creating using the management console itself. So we try to go ahead with the management console itself. Configure your resource using the CloudFormation. So before starting this process, make sure you have a key pair of the EC2 instance in your AWS account. For more information, you can go on to this particular link. So in the previous videos, we have I would say the previous video itself, we have already created the EC2 key pair instance, right? So I have already created it, right, and shown you guys how we can create it. If you are new and if you are watching only this video and if you have not watched the previous video, so I would recommend you guys to first of all watch that particular video, so you can even get the better understanding that what exactly are we doing, right? So when you use the CloudFormation template, you must select the correct parameters and make sure your resources are created properly. So follow the following steps below. Sign into your AWS management console and open the CloudFormation console at this particular link. So let me just click it. Okay, and I can remove this. So here you can see, right? Not very sure who has created these CloudFormations, right? Okay, so it was created on 30th of November, right? So maybe someone in the team has created this particular thing. Now we will be creating our own stack. So choose create stack, and in the specify template section, select upload a template from your computer and then choose next. Okay. So I will come here, I will click on create stack, right? And I will click on what? Import resources, right? And then what I will do, I will click on next. Okay. And upload a template file, right? Here what I will do is I will first of all try to download this particular file. So RDS MariaDB template.main, this is my file name. I will just download it. I will come back here, right? And I will choose file, and I can just click on this particular file and choose it. Okay. Now this particular file has been stored in this particular location of my S3 bucket. Okay. So this file has been uploaded to a S3 bucket, and it has also given us the S3 URL of my file. Okay. Choose next. In the specify stack details page, select the following parameters. So set the stack name as MariaDB test stack. Okay. So I can just copy it. I can come here, click on next. Here I will have to okay, let me go to previous. Okay, So this is where we have uploaded it. Then I can click on next. So here you can see VPC stack, right? Bastion stack and your RDS NS. Okay. So here we have to enter some values. So under stack name, set the stack name to this. So currently we are not having any option to set our stack name. No worries, let's move forward. So under parameters, set availability zones by selecting 3 availability zones. Okay. So in parameters, do we have any kind of thing? No, we have to enter it manually. Okay. So if I go on next, okay, I have to select this. So is it not telling anything about? Under parameters, set availability zones by defining the 3 availability zones. Okay. So I can choose, let's say, AP South A. I can select all 3, right? Now I will do what? Under the Bastion, Linux Bastion host configuration for key name, select the login pair for login to the EC2 instance, right? So I will scroll down and here in the key name. So I am aware about the fact but that my key name pair is VS17 key pair, right? So I will select this particular key pair name. Okay, and then I will do what? In the Linux Bastion host configuration settings, set permitted IP range to your IP address to connect to the EC2 instance in your VPC using the SSH. Determine your public IP address using the service at this particular thing. For example, this should be the IP address, something like this. So I will just scroll down. Permitted IP range, right? This one is there. So permitted IP range, I will have to check my IP address. So I can just click on this particular link, right? So this is my IP address, right? So I will just copy it and I will come back here and here I will paste it here. Okay. So here I can do as /32 maybe. Okay. So warning, if you use 0.0/0 for SSH, you make it possible for all the IP addresses to connect to your public EC2 instance using SSH. This approach is acceptable for a short time in the test environment, but it's unsafe for the production environment. In production, authorize only the specific IP address or the range of addresses to access your EC2 SSH. Now under the database general configuration, set a database instance class to T3 micro. So now I have to come here and here I can set as dbt3 micro. So I can do what? db.t3 micro. Okay. Default port name can be port number can be this only. Set the db name to dbtest1. Okay. Control C. Database name is set to dbtest1, right? For database master, enter the name for your master user. So I will enter here as, let's suppose, admin. Okay. And here I will have to enter my password also, I believe. So for database password, set the password of your choice. Remember the password for the further steps of the tutorial, right? So the database master password, it should be 8 character, 1 uppercase, lowercase, and a number. Okay, so I'm doing, let's suppose, as ROOT1. Okay, done. Now under the storage configuration, you can set your database storage type to be GP2. So here in the storage space configuration, I can set it as GP2. Okay. Under the database monitoring configuration, enable RDS performance insights to false. Okay. So here enable RDS performance insights to be false. Okay. Leave all the other settings as default and then click on next to continue. Okay. So I will just click on next and I will continue. I can just cross this. Okay. So here it will give you a review of the MariaDB test stack that we have done. So in the step 2, we have done what? We have this particular YAML file, the text. Then we have our Bastion stack. Stack name is Maria test DB stack. These are the parameters values that we have set, right? So application is currently having no value. Application version is having no value. Availability zones, we have given these compliance, confidentiality, and all these things. These are the values that are given. There is an error, must satisfy. Okay, we have not given a symbol. So I will have to go back. Here I will have to specify a symbol also. So let's suppose I'm writing as double O T rate 1. Okay, one uppercase, one lowercase, one number, and one. Okay, at the rate is not allowed. Okay, at the rate is not allowed. Instead of this, I can put, let's say, this. Now I believe it should work fine. DB name we have not given correctly. Okay, we gave the DB name similar to what was given in the documentation itself. Database name. So it has given it here itself. Okay, let me just remove, I believe, this. So it will accept everything. Okay, now I believe it's fine. The following, there was an error to set to change the following resources to import must have delete policy attribute in the template. Okay, delete policy attribute. We are not. To the stack view, all the stack name are based in process to this. I guess then this particular YAML file is not complete. I check this one. And if I check for delete policy, right? So here I can see the delete policy thing is also there. So let me do one thing. Let me download this one, I believe. Okay. So let me download this file. First of all, let me delete it and let me save this one. Yes, replace it. And let me go back to the stacks. Okay, I will create a new stack. I will import the stack. Next, upload, choose a file. So this is the stack that I want to choose. Click on next. Okay, and click on next. Stack name, I will enter this itself. Okay, and then I will have to mention VPC ID. Here I can mention the subnet also. So Okay, things are a bit different here, no worries. So private subnet ID I can choose, let's say this one. Okay, private subnet ID 2 and private subnet ID 3. Cool. Now custom security group ID, enter only ID of the security group. For example, one will be created if you left it empty, so I can keep it as empty. Allows for access use. Okay, so I'll be doing what? Okay, let me keep it this only. Publicly accessible should be false. Database engine is this. I can choose as db.t3 micro. Okay, I can keep it as this. Keep the database name as sample stack itself. Here I can give as, let's say, admin. Okay, here I can give as, let's suppose, root hyphen 1. Okay, this is set to false, this is set to true, retention date is this, IAM based authentication is this. Here I can select gp2. Here I can, let's say, do as 10 GB. For gp2 it must be an integer from 20. Okay, so let me put it as 20. Enable database encryption is 2. Provisioned IOPS storage, and for gp3 I'm not using gp3. Provision for gp3. Enable storage auto scaling, I can set it to false. Limit for storage auto scaling, I can set it to this. Configuration, I did not get it. Retention period, this. SNS is fine. Optional DB tags. Application name, application version, this is not required, and I can click on next. Okay. Now I can review everything. So here again I have some kind of creating the change set. The following resources import, CTU utilization, and this is this. Where is this delete attribute policy? Delete, deletion, deletion policy. Where is the next one? Here is the deletion policy. The following resources to import CPU utilization, alarm 1. Okay. RDS security group, event subscription, this and this. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me just copy this error and take help of internet. Okay, so try to. Okay, so the deletion stack will be placed in the actual instance resource, not into the parameter. For example, this. Okay. Mm, this requirement, for example. Okay, got it. So I think here we only have one deletion policy. Deletion policy, we have three deletion policies: snapshot, deletion, and retain. Okay, we have the following resource to import: CPU utilization 1. Let me do one thing. Let's take help of ChatGPT in this case. Okay, it's not a bug. Creating stateful resources. I refuse to let you delete. Okay, okay, got it. You do one thing. This is my template. I'm getting error for the above template. Try to. But when you import existing resources, CloudFormation requires a deletion policy in every imported resource. Okay. Your template defines resources correctly, but several of them are missing deletion policy at the resource level. CloudFormation will not infer defaults. It wants you on record. Got it. So the current is almost ready. AWS will enforce any no restructure, re-architecture needed. Okay. So let me do one thing. Validate template line by line and give me the fixed template that I can. Now we can also take help of ChatGPT, right? So even though this is right from the official documentation itself, but unfortunately we are not able to follow it exactly in the same way, right? We are getting the issues. So let's try to fix it every time. What changed? So I guess do it manually itself. So let me do one thing. Let me open it. And then what I will have to do is inside CPU utilization alarm 1. So I can come here, I can search for CPU utilization alarm 1. Okay. And here I will have to attach this particular delete policy. I have to add it inside properties. No, after type itself I can add. Okay. So here I will have to attach. Okay. So just keep in mind, guys, you don't have to align it after the properties. You have to align in the property thing. Okay. So here in the database instance event subscription also asking me to do the deletion part, right? Fine. Okay. Thing. Let me test this. So DB SNS topic. So DB SNS topic. There it is. So for type, I can set the deletion policy as retain. Okay. Then for RDS security group, where is the service? Here it is. This one. Right. This one. So I will have to set it to retain itself. Security group type is this. So here I can set it to retain. Okay. And for ingress also, RD security group ingress, I have to set it to retain itself. Condition, I can set it to retain. Okay. And then RDS DB subnet group. For RDS DB subnet group, it should be this one. Okay. And here I have to set deletion policy as retain. Okay, I will also have to add the type. Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay, first of all, Control V, and it is fine. Right. Here the type is given. DBSNS topic. V, the type is given. Security group. Security group type is not given, right? I can add the type also. Control C. Okay, no, type is given. It's fine. It's given. It's given. Okay, then security group ingress type is given. RDS subnet group will be for this. So I think type should be given. Deletion policy is already given. No, for RDS subnet group, right? RDS subnet group is done. Then DB group. D is given. Deletion policy should be retained. Okay. Talking about the event subscription, V. So deletion policy is retained. For enroll, the deletion policy is retained. Then key allies. Okay. Deletion policy is retained. Okay. So let me save it. The file has been saved now. And now let me do one thing. Let me go back to my stack. Okay. I will try to cancel this particular stack again and create a new stack. So click on template, load, choose a YAML file, click on next, click on next, stack name this, yes, private subnet 1, subnet 2 and subnet 3. Let me choose this as db dot p3 micro. What is this sample database name? Let it be sample app. You can keep here it as admin root root hyphen 1. Okay. And let me make it gp2, rest of the things as same. I hope Okay. DB event parameter group subscription. Okay, so only one is left now. I have to do the same thing again. Do Control F. Here, the deletion policy. Let's keep it as a retain. Okay. Now I hope it should work. Import, next, upload, choose file, template, next, next, tag name, BPC, subnet 1, subnet 2, and subnet 3. Okay, database connection, db.t3 micro, keep it as 2 to false. Click on next. Okay, as part of the import operation, you cannot modify or add outputs. There was an error creating the change. As part of import operation, you cannot modify or add output. Okay, at least that error has gone. Now let's see why this error is coming into picture. This must be removed from import. What these AWS people were doing, they were creating this template. So what to do right now? This must be removed from import. Import template should look like this. There should not be anything as outputs. Do as outputs. Is it asking me to remove all these outputs? Put no condition touching output, no export. Okay, post import, very important. After the import succeeds, add output back. Create a normal update stack, CloudFormation accept output instantly. Okay. Okay, so I will have to do control X it from here. Okay, I can save it again. Or let me do one thing. Let me cancel it. Create the new stack. Again, upload a template. Click on next. Right. I can click on next. I will enter the DB stack. I can enter my VPC private subnet 1, subnet 2, and subnet 3 I will be choosing. And then publicly accessible is false. Here I'll be doing db.t3 micro. Sample app is fine. I will again do here as admin root emission 1. Okay, this is fine. This is fine. Let me make it gp2. Make it to false. Great. So now you can see, okay, security group ID cannot be empty. So, okay, group ID cannot be empty. Let's see. Okay, so hard fix, I don't need to do the hard fix thing. Control F, Control V, Control. Okay, save it again. Go back. At least we have done some progress. Earlier errors are getting fixed, right? So I'm not very sure why there are so much of error. The official thing itself. This is the official uh, YAML file, right? dbt3 db.t3 micro. Make it admin. And gp2 false. That's it. Next. Resource cannot be empty. Okay. This is the final class of the import error. YAML syntax will be explicitly because the error is vague by design. Okay, but sources cannot be achieved. So okay, let me add my YAML file. Then let me give the error. Okay, in the RDS security group. Okay, so I'll have to do what? To put the VPC ID here. Okay, so let me do one thing. I'm not having the value here. Let me do one thing. Let me write it down, or let me see. Okay, not this ingress, I believe, right? RDS security group. Okay, RDS security group is here. Okay, properties VPC ID. Properties. Okay, here I have to put the VPC ID. So reference is VPC hyphen 0 VP06, sorry, 0C49 0C49 BDF9 BDF9 F845 F845 FE997 FE997. Okay, stack, upload, next, upload existing URL, sorry, JSON, next, template does not include any resources to import. Telling is like this. because of the VPC that I have inserted here, right? Let me cross check once. Let me duplicate this. Yeah. And let me go to VPC. This is the VPC ID. Okay. And let me come here. I hope this is the same VPC. 0C49BDF9F85FE997. Absolutely correct. Let me do one thing in this case. VPC ID should automatically refer to the VPC ID that I am submitting from the stack, right? It's mentioning the VPC ID here is not fine. Next, here it should fetch the VPC ID. Yes. Okay. So go to subnets. Of the private subnet in availability zone 1. Okay. So talk about this. Okay, so this one is in availability zone 1. I believe because of this private subnet 2 is in availability zone 1. Okay. Then T is in 2, T is in 2, and this one, private subnet 1, is in availability zone 3, right? Private subnet 1 is in availability zone 3. Okay. I guess this was the issue that I was getting. T3.micro, and here I can put the name here as admin root root -1. Something, sorry, GP2 stack MariaDB. Host cannot be empty. Okay, guys, let me do one thing. Okay, so I believe because of this uh, template, right? This template that has been given by this by the AWS people, right? Because in front of you only I've used both of the templates, right? It's not correct, right? There is some issue that we are not able to create the stack properly here, right? So what I will try to do is I will try to fix this particular stack, right, by my own, and then I will try to show you guys that how we will be creating this particular thing using the CloudFormation, right? How we can basically create our VPC, right? How we can create our EC2 instance and our RDS in the same stack, right? Inside, uh, like inside one VPC using the CloudFormation stack. Okay. So I will try to fix it, guys, and in the next video for sure I will be showing it to you. Cool. So with that said, I will be ending this particular video here itself. Uh, I know that like we were not able to do the things successfully in this particular video, but I hope at least what we are trying to do, you guys have understood that part, right? That what exactly were we trying to achieve, even though we have not exactly achieved the thing, right? If this would have been done, right? If this error would not be coming here, so we will just import the resources and all the resources will get created automatically. Okay, so just because of this YAML file that we are having right now, okay, the resource is not getting created because there is some issue, right? There is some issue that like currently I'm not able to fix it right here. So obviously I will be taking help of maybe some other documentation, maybe some blog, uh, Stack Overflow, Chat GPTs and all, right? And I will try to fix this particular thing, and I will try to show you guys maybe in the very next video itself, or for sure in the coming videos. Okay, even though if I'm not able to show it in the very next video, for sure I will be showing it to you guys that how we will be able to launch it using the CloudFormation, or basically using the infrastructure as a code in the coming videos for sure. Cool. So with that said, guys, I will be ending the video, this particular video. I hope you guys learned something new in this video. I will see you in the next one. Till then, keep learning and keep growing. Bye bye.